Are we hot? How hot?
How hot do you want it?
Oh, I don't know, man. It's gonna get pretty cold here tonight. 47
Mm,
degrees.
well, that means one thing with tomorrow being opening day for you.
Yeah, September 15th, opening day of deer season here in Connecticut.
There's going to be some blood on the ground.
What? I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe I'll cut the Zeus loose.
Well, cold front on opening day. I don't think that's happened ever for me. So
No.
I
Last year
got
was 90.
I got a feeling something's going to die.
Last year was 90 here on opening day. So we'll see what ends up happening. I'm a little pumped, man. I'm a little disorganized. I got shit everywhere still. I washed my clothes. They're now in the scent crusher bag. Oh, it's on the other side.
Nice.
Getting crushed over there on the couch in the studio. I got new aiders and daisy chains on my Shikar sticks from out on the limb. My platform, my backpack's all set up. I got my Nor'easter grunt tube. I think I got just my broadside camo, my new Ascender sweatshirt. I may actually be able to use it. A little warmer than I
That
had
sucker's warm,
anticipated.
man. It's warm.
So I'm a little unsure if I'm actually gonna be able to use that. But if not, I'll use the Versa Light. Um, the Zeuses are all packed in the CBE quiver. I'm just like, I'm like a walking fucking billboard today here. Bam, dude.
Nice.
They're ready to rock. Everything is just, I have checked my list and checked it twice, I guess. So I'm ready for opening day. I am not actually ready.
Yeah, you're ready for the hunt part.
I
We'll put it
guess
that way.
I
You're
just
ready
want
to
to be
be hunting.
I just want to be in my tree, man. I'm probably not even going to sleep because you know what? Honestly, it's all starting to set in. This morning, it really didn't. Seth, I got to the boat and he's like, dude, you realize it's less than 24 hours you're going to be in a tree hanging? And I'm like, yeah, whatever, bro. Let's go to work. And the day went up because I knew I had so much shit to get ready. And now that everything's ready, dude, I'm actually like shaking at the bit right now. Like it really kind of all just hit me when I was talking about this.
Okay, so you want my one piece of advice, my life lesson, something I've learned, and my biggest fear now every time I go out. Where's your release? And do you have a spare release in your bag?
Yo, good call, bro. I haven't even touched my bow. My bow is still in my case from yesterday's 3D shoot. So
Okay, so that buck, the chocolate horn PA buck, went out, got in the stand. My target buck walked by at 20 yards. And I went to clip on and realized I didn't have a release.
bro,
And that was probably one of the biggest, most heartbreaking hunts I've ever been on.
did you
And
finger shoot that other one?
this one came in 30 minutes later, and I finger shot him. I don't know how, but I pulled it off. I finger shot him. I am more proud of that little guy than anything else on the wall.
So that's so funny that you say that. So one of the public pieces that I hunt is probably a mile and a half hike in. And all the boys, we decided to hunt one morning or one afternoon. So we're all pumped and we start hiking in, bro. I get out there. This is how I was running a summit tree stand at the time. Fucking backpack this thing all the way up there. Climb up the tree, get all the way up the tree, man. I'm sitting there, I'm getting all my stuff ready, hanging all my shit, dude. I'm all ready. I'm like, dude, where's my release? I literally forgot my release. I literally sat there. I swear on my life, there was more deer movement that night than any time I've
Yep.
ever sat in my tree stand ever.
Yep.
There was does everywhere. Two bucks. One of them was like 8 yards away, walked right underneath me. Another one came from the left, walked all. I'm like, are you kidding me? And one of them was a really good buck. Like I would have definitely let him have it. And I was like, do I shoot fingers?
Yes.
And I'm like, no, I can't do it, man. I can't because if I mess it up, then what? You know what I'm saying? So I was like, you know what? It's all good, dude. But it was a lesson learned. I forgot my release so many damn times, bro.
Dude,
Release.
I will not leave the house until I have checked that I have my
Ugh.
release and I always have a spare release in my backpack in case for some reason I leave it in the truck. I won't make that mistake again.
So like my thing is, and it's always been this, is that I take my release and I strap it to the limb of my bow. It's always on the limb of my bow. That's where it's always is. When I get to my tree, when I get down from my tree at night, it goes on there. Every time that thing leaves my bow, it goes back on the same exact spot. But I still somehow always forget it.
Except for that one time that you went, I need to check this. I bumped my bow. I need to shoot an arrow.
Yep.
You shoot, you set the release down, and you don't put it back.
Dude, I've think that I've forgotten everything that there is to forget when it comes. Bro, there was one time that I actually hunted in fucking Nike sneakers because I forgot my boots at home, and it had just snowed 1.5 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to take plastic bags and put them over my feet inside of my shoes so that my feet weren't wet. Like, dude, if there's anything that has ever gone wrong to anybody, it's happened to me 5 times. So like,
yeah, but that's the thing though. You can kill a deer with wet, cold feet. You can kill a deer in flannel. You can't kill a deer consistently without a fucking release.
So I don't know. So last year I actually went and forgot my arrows.
Yeah, I remember
me
that.
and Ghost went hunting, and I forgot my arrows at home. So he walked into public, got set up. I drove home, got my arrows, and drove all the way back and got in my stand and hunted. Fucking dude, it's constant with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I just realized too? I'm getting like really excited, bro. This is our first deer season as the Outdoor Drive podcast.
Indeed it is, brother.
Tomorrow is the first deer hunt ever as the Outdoor Drive podcast.
You got to do us proud. I need to see blood drawn day 1.
Man, so do I just everything gets it tomorrow?
You can be selective. Big old nanny doe comes through though. I wouldn't be. Her ass is on the ground.
Can we talk about this for 1 second? I don't even know where the fuck I'm going hunting tomorrow morning. I don't even know, like all day. Like that's all I've been worried about is like, where am I going hunting? I don't even know. I've checked the wind 700 times. I don't know if I really want to go into one spot. I don't know if I want to go into the other. I got bucks in every single spot that I have a camera up. I don't know where to go, bro. I have no idea.
So I'll give you my point of view, and this is just my perspective. If I was in your shoes, which currently right now I pretty much am, if I'm not sure what I want to do or where I want to go, I'm going to the first place I know that has does, and lots of them. And I'm going to go work the kinks out between hiking in, getting up the tree, setting my shit up for that first set, because it's going to be all screwy like it is every year, remembering, okay, how did I do this? How did I like this? And I would rather waste that in somewhere that if I bust anything, it's probably going to be a doe, and not alert those bucks, by accidental clings or clinks or anything like that. Just go somewhere where there's a lot of good does. So if you are in and you are comfortable, you don't blow a buck out, you still may see a buck, but you can whack a doe. Just my thoughts. I mean, it's like whack-a-mole, just whack a doe.
Oh, man. It's got me crazy, dude. I got to check the wind after we get off the phone here because I got to really think.
Don't overthink it. Day 1, don't overthink it.
Tomorrow afternoon, me and Seth are going out onto some public and going to try and chase our number 1 target bucks. Because the wind is absolutely perfect. And they've been on camera constantly. This week with the moon's about to be full moon, and they say in the past, so we've been kind of like going by this one pattern is 3 days before the full moon and 3 days after the full moon is the most movement that we've seen. And since we put these cameras in there in the beginning of July, we've seen the most movement 3 days before the moon, 3 days after the moon. And I'll tell you this is that we lost our camera a week ago. It stopped transmitting.
Nice.
So I have no idea what's going on in there, but it's been consistent inside of there. So we're hoping Well, A, we want to go in there and check the camera, and B, we want to go in there and hopefully kill a deer. So that's where we're going tomorrow afternoon. We're going into our number one AA spot, and we're going to hunt there for the next 3 days. Hopefully, bounce around and try and kill a buck. But as far as tomorrow morning, dude, I'm on my own. It's opening morning. I'm just going hunting, bro.
It's the
I'm
time to work
really,
the kinks out, dude.
I'm just
Whether
gonna
you
go
see
in there,
anything
man.
or not, work the kinks out. Get
I
your
think the
setup right.
surreality, this just to be there, man. I'm probably not even gonna want to get out of my stand. I really, hanging up
Oh,
there.
I
And
hate that first day you're sitting there, and it is so hard to just not sit there all day.
I do
Even
that shit all
though
the time.
it's not very useful, at least where I hunt. Very few spots, very rarely throughout the years that we're sitting all day. But opening day, I always just want to sit my ass there and not move.
So I get so excited. So normally, so the past 2 years, I really haven't had the chance to hunt opening day. Because I've been so busy on the boat. So normally I'm very busy at working, but my schedule this year with working the new boat that I'm on, it's giving me the opportunities to be able to hunt. So normally what it is the first couple of days I'll be able to hunt and I'll get out early at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'll go in and I'll set. So the past two first weeks of the season, I've shot a deer at fucking noon.
Right.
So I just get the itch because I just want to hang in a tree, and the wind's good. And I go in and I sit in a bedding area at like 10 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock in the morning. By 2 o'clock, I got one down. It's
Yep.
happened to me for the past 2 to 3 years. I just go in there and I just whack one, let him go. And I can't say that I won't do the same tomorrow. I just don't want to get out of my tree. I just love the fact that I have waited every single day to be able to go and hang in my tree.
Yep. I get that.
Sorry, man. I'm rambling because I'm so fucking excited. I'm so excited. This 2020 is the year, bro. Like,
For anybody that can't see the YouTube, I am flipping Trev off because I've still got 3 weeks to go.
I know, and I'm gonna come down and join you. But the thing is that I don't know, man. 2020 has been the year of.
This is going to be the shittiest year full of big deer ever seen.
I agree.
When's the last time we had cold fronts and cool weather in September?
Fuck 2020, dude. This is the real 2020 right here, man.
I'm telling you right now, 2020.
Whatever happens in
hunting
real world
season. Yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah.
real world, throw it
fuck
out.
the real world.
Because
I could
hunting
care
season
less.
2020 is going to be epic. There's already been a new potential state record in Kansas taken.
I saw that.
Yeah, did you see that wild
Holy-
thing?
by the girl.
My brother-in-law got engaged, turned around the next night, and went out in New Mexico and killed a 4-year dry spell on elk and got a cow with a bow at 70 yards.
Jesus.
And their season's just ramping up. And you're seeing big deer drop everywhere already. I'm telling you, 2020 is going to be the year of hunting.
It's been the year for everything, for fishing, for hunting, for life. I mean, it's really everyone needs to stay positive because I killed my biggest tuna this year, killed my biggest shark this year. The fishing's phenomenal. The outdoors is fucking insane. The hunting, I cannot wait. My cameras have been going fucking buck wild, and that's pun intended, dude.
I've not seen action like this on the cameras in a long time.
I'm jacked up, bro. The spot that I'm going tomorrow, I didn't even put a camera in there. I haven't even put a camera. This is the spot that I'm going tomorrow, and I've been hemming and hawing if I'm going to sit on the lower side or the upper side, because I've kind of just set my mind on it, and I got to go with what my heart says.
So you're going to go back where we were looking, back where you got the big boy behind you, up the mountain or down in the bottom?
No. I was going to go to the mountain, but I decided, to be honest with you, I'm going into where I shot Who the Funk.
Yeah. Yep. That's where I was talking.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know if I'm gonna go up top or I'm gonna go down bottom.
Gotcha.
I'm undecided at this point. I really whatever, bro. I haven't set a camera in there, but early season last year, so the little piece down in the bottom, by the river edge, I got that later on in the season. So I didn't set up in there until October. And so I put a camera in there, and there was already scrapes down there. There was a huge run. They had already been blowing through there a ton. I'm just gonna go in there and hope for the best. So
Go
it
for
is.
it, dude. Hammer it.
Sorry, we got a little excited, and I've been kind of getting carried away here. I'm just like fucking
Nah,
jacked.
man. It's the night before deer season.
I know,
We
and
live
we
for
got a
this
great
shit.
podcast is coming up after we get done rambling here. Very informational podcast that I think a lot of people need to kind of understand and actually know what's going on out there. Speaking of 2020, all the good things that have come out of 2020, you'll learn a little bit about them here on this podcast today.
Hell yeah. It's a good way to put it. Well,
So,
what are you thinking?
do I hear something coming in?
I think so. You want to
Is
go
that
ahead and
it?
crank that thing up for
All
me?
right, crank her up.
Hey everyone, Mike here with some news for your cruise, and the good news just keeps rolling in. This time for upland bird hunters in Iowa. The Iowa DNR recently completed their annual pheasant survey, and numbers are up significantly from 2019. Statewide, the survey averaged 20.2 birds per 30-mile route, with 6 of the 9 survey regions averaging more than 20 birds per route. The southeast region saw an increase of 165% in birds. The northeast region saw an increase of 115%, and the east central region saw an increase of 55%. The DNR biologists stated that pheasant hunting this fall could be some of the best the state's seen in a decade. And they are crediting this to the past winter having mild temperatures and little snowfall, which led to higher hen survival. And also a dry spring resulting in more successful nesting. DNR believes that given the statewide index of 20 birds per route, pheasant hunters should expect to harvest between 250 and 350,000 roosters this fall. Also, the quail population has remained stable and unchanged, but is still double the numbers from a decade ago, and DNR anticipates a harvest of more than 20,000 quail this fall. Now to Kentucky, where hunters will now have an additional 56,000 acres open to public hunting. This is due to new hunting access agreements in eastern Kentucky. New areas include locations in Floyd, Knott, Leslie, Webster, Magasin, McCreary, Perry, and Pike counties. It includes some new areas not previously open to hunting, as well as additions to existing access areas. The areas include Legacy-LLC HHA, which is 44,460 acres. Elk permit holders will need to enter a drawing to be selected for an elk hunt on a portion of this HHA, but it will be open to hunting for all other species. Betterment Wildlife HHA, 6,500 acres, open hunting of all species. RH Group HHA, 5,100 acres, which will be regulated for elk hunting, be archery-only deer hunting, and open for all other species, but that property does require a waiver to access the property. With the additions, Kentucky now has over 1 million acres open for public hunting. For more info and maps of the areas, you can go to sw.ky.gov. Now let's head back east to New York, where the Department of Environmental Conservation has released a proposal to potentially expand deer hunting opportunities in the southern zone of New York. The proposed regulations would create additional bow hunting and muzzleloader hunting opportunities from December 26th through January 1st only in that southern zone. Additionally, the proposal would not impact when snowmobile trails may open. Snowmobile trails will still open after the end of the regular big game hunting season, subject to adequate snow cover and local agreements. Details of the proposal were published in the September 9th New York State Register. DEC is encouraging the public to comment on the proposed regulations through November 8th of this year. Comments may be submitted via email to wildliferegs@dec.ny.gov or in writing to Jeremy Hurst NYSDEC, Bureau of Wildlife, 625 Broadway, 5th floor, Albany, New York, 12233-4754. If you're in favor of this, especially as a New York hunter, even if you don't hunt the Southern Zone, I highly encourage you to submit comments in favor of the regs. We all know that those opposed will be submitting their comments, so any help would be greatly appreciated to show support for those new regulations. Also out of New York, I got to thank Cliff Cadet for sending me this one. Thank you, Cliff. DEC is reporting record-breaking sales of hunting and trapping licenses for this season. Sales for big game hunting and trapping licenses and deer management permits were nearly triple on the opening day of sales, more than double on the second day of sales, and nearly double for the first 2 weeks from the 2019 numbers. Large numbers are being attributed to New Yorkers looking for more ways to enjoy the outdoors during the pandemic. DEC also announced in-person hunter education, bow hunter education, and trapper education have resumed with appropriate social distancing and other precautions. But the introduction of online hunter ed during the pandemic, they've got some numbers in, and it has resulted in a 105% increase in participants completing the course compared to the traditional in-person courses offered in 2019. With that, there were 40,278 completions. Nearly 70% of those were participants 21 years of age or older, and 40% of the participants were women. There were an additional 10,934 participants who completed the bow hunter education through the online courses. Through this, the online courses have been extended indefinitely, and also DEC is also encouraging any outdoor enthusiast to consider purchasing the $5 Habitat and Access stamp. Funds from the stamp support projects to conserve habitat and improve public access for fish and wildlife related activities. And this year, DEC has seen a 300% increase in stamp purchases, which is fantastic. And lastly, what would the news for your cruise be without another record falling? This time in Massachusetts, where Andrew Langley of Peabody caught a state record bowfin on the Taunton River. The fish came in at 9 pounds 10 ounces and 29¼ inches long, with a girth of 15 1/8 inches. So congrats to Andrew on a great fish. As always, if you have any news, please send it along. A few people have been sending them in. You reach out to me on Facebook at Mike Salter or Instagram at bearded_bowhunter21. And with that, enjoy the rest of your ride.
All right. Thanks, Mike Salter. We appreciate it. The news for your cruise. Good luck this season, buddy. Good luck tomorrow morning.
Knock them down, send us everything over, and we're going to go. We know that guy.
We know that guy. He's that guy. He's that right-hand man that everybody needs. I say that all the time. Mike's a fucking man. But so you think maybe we should thank those people that thank us?
I don't know if they thank us. I think half the time they shake their heads and
They're
cover
right.
their eyes and go, "What the hell are they doing?" But yeah, I think we ought to show them some love.
All right, let's show them some love. Who should we start with?
Well,
let's go with. I'm gonna start in the middle.
I like it.
I'm gonna screw up, but it's all right. Let's start off with D&M Arrows. DMArrows.com. Gary Hall, the man, the myth, the legend, the red-headed stepchild. Go and check him out. D&M Custom Arrows for all your custom arrow needs.
And for those of you who like Meat Eater, you guys should check out some of that stuff that's going to be dropping in 2 days, and you just may see a guest appearance by the Ginger.
That's it, man.
Just saying.
Out on the Limb, MFG.com. Matt Garris over there. All of your custom hanging and banging stuff, as far as the Shikar sticks, the Assassin Reach arm, your Ridge Runner, your what else has he got? He's got
The podium.
The podium. That's what I'm running tomorrow. Until actually the Out on the Limb perch comes out. He's got everything. The 3D arm, the 360 arm. He's got stands. He's got, you name it, he's got it. Go over and check him out. Out on the Limb, mfg.com. Also, rackrage.com, the apparel superstore for your outdoor lifestyle. Rackrage.com has a ton of apparel, men's, women's, unisex, you name it. Go and check them out. They got some pretty badass t-shirts, hats. Looked like they had some tumblers from Timbered Tumblers. If you guys haven't, speaking of, if you guys haven't checked them out, Timbered Tumbler.
Wow,
That's
you are way worked up for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Timbered.
Doing it up.
Yeah, see,
Tumblr.
Yeah, if you guys haven't checked them out, Custom Outdoor Drive Podcast, you can check them right out there in the store. You can click on buy, and he will make one for you custom. You can put your own name on it and everything. So go and check those boys out at Rack Rage and Timbered Tumblers. Also, Broadside Camo, broadsidecamo.com, your photorealism camo. I got some hanging around. You got some right there. I got some more.
I got a whole
hanging
pile
out.
of it back here, but you can't see it.
Oh, I got a whole pile of it right here. Let me bring them in. Bam. Here's the hats. Look at that. Photorealism, a little bit of white. Not as much of that brown.
Got
See that right
Ascender
there?
series.
Doom. Bam. If you haven't checked it out, check it out on our YouTube page. Actually, right here. You can kind of see a little bit. We go through a little bit of an interview with Scott Shear from Broadside Camo. So broadsidecamo.com. Use the promo code Outdoor Drive to get your something free. Wicked and Twisted Bowstrings. Wicked and Twisted Bowstrings.com. Use Outdoor Drive 10. Capital O, capital D on that one. Save yourself 10%. You can build your strings right there on Wicked and Twisted Bowstrings.com. You can get them shipped right to you, or you can go up to Trader Jan's and Jill will Jillify you.
Which, if you haven't checked out the latest video, we give you a full walkthrough. So get on the YouTube and get an inside peek at the shop and how she makes the strings and some of the shenanigans we got up to in there.
Nice fucking video Steve put together. WildEdgeInc.com, the leader in mobile hunting. Get your perch, your aiders, your ropes, your 8mm, your Lazy Man Prusix, your Kong ducks, soon to be the perch with Out on the Limb, your Wild Edge steps for your ring of steps or to get yourself up there. They have multiple uses. Check them out, WildEdgeInc.com, also on YouTube. If you guys want to check them out, a little bit about them for your saddle hunting needs. Last but not least, my favorite, Mr. Marky Mark, Nor'easter Game Calls. Get them in close. Your custom game calls from your turkey pot calls, your grunt calls, your coyote calls, your duck calls, your little cluckers, your box calls. You name it, he makes it. Even his custom knives at Mab's Custom Knives. Check them the fuck out. You definitely need these things for come the rut here. Check it out right here. There it is. You can go from your grunt or your fawn.
And everything in between.
Might need this tomorrow.
There you go.
Check it out.
Call that old nanny in.
This one's got some prickly pear cactus inside of it, but it's got this custom. Never mind. So, anyways, but those are the people that we partner with, and they help us out to make this all possible. If you guys go and check them out, show them a little bit of love. Speaking of showing some love, if you guys haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube page right here on the Outdoor Drive. For our YouTube page. And if you guys are listening to it audio only, please give us a 5-star review, a 5-star and a review on the Apple podcast. Go and check us out on Instagram and Facebook, all social media, and please follow along as we take you on the drive.
That was pretty informative.
Damn, I'm fucking fired up, bro.
You're like,
you don't even know.
You're spazzing out at this point.
I swore about 700 times. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I'm a little excited. So
That's all
let's
right
do
though,
this.
because this
Pumped.
one coming up, we got Michael Woods from BHA, and he's going to continue this little knowledge bomb that you're popping out on everyone. So what do you think? We got to bring him on?
Yeah, let's go check out Michael. Let's see him up in
Let's
Rhode
give him a
Island.
shout. Stand by.
Nice shot. Here comes a shooter. Shooter. Big buck.
Stack, stack, stack.
All right. We're back on the phone with Michael. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. Happy to be here. Excited to talk.
Definitely. There's some great points that I think we're going to hit on this one, how we had to get going because I think we would ended up talking about them without recording at this point.
We
So,
have a tendency of doing that too much.
yeah, that's why I figured let's just hit record.
Let's get
So-
into it.
So, Michael, why don't you tell everybody, man, who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
So my name is Michael Woods. I am an engineer, live in Southern Rhode Island, and currently serving as a volunteer as the co-chair of the New England chapter of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. I'm also a hunter and an angler.
That's awesome, man. And you're getting ready to do something pretty crazy here in the next couple of days.
Yeah, man, we're shipping out to Colorado. We're going to be elk hunting. We're going to be 7 days on the ground chasing bugling elk in Southern Colorado.
So, are you doing like a DIY, or are you doing a guided hunt?
So we're doing, I guess you'd call it a DIY hunt. We're going to be hunting. We're actually not even sure yet. It's either going to be on an over-the-counter or a leftover tag. So we don't even have tags yet. We're getting in the truck. On the way out, we're going to be talking with a couple friends that have been hunting in the area about what they've been seeing. And once we hit Colorado, we're going to be stopping, grabbing a tag, and basically getting out in the national forest and chasing them down.
That's awesome, man. Has this been something that you've done before in the past, or is this something new for you?
This is my first time hunting elk, so it's all new to me.
It's a trip, man. You're in for a hell of a ride.
Oh God, I hope so. It'd be a real success if we were hunting elk as opposed to looking for elk. That's what I'm really hoping for. And if
Well,
we end up killing one, that'll be a nice bonus.
all the reports I'm getting back right now is it was kind of a slow start, a little bit warmer early season, but right now they're really picking up day by day. So I think you guys are going to get there right in the prime.
Yeah, well, I know that they had a big snowfall. They got like 2 feet in some of the parts of southern Colorado that we're looking
Right.
to go about a week ago. And so the hope is going to be that pushes a lot of those elk down out of the higher elevations into places that it's a little bit easier for us flatlanders to get at them.
Yeah, because that's not easy
Correct.
terrain. I got a cousin over there, and he sent us pictures last weekend of a foot of snow on his deck rails, and he's in some rough terrain. But I mean, that whole area is pretty terrible if you have to walk through that in the snow. I'll put it that way.
Are you bringing the bow with you, stick and string, or are you going with gun? What do you?
So it'll be a
Always
bow
a-
hunt. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Awesome.
That's awesome, bro. I mean, especially being there during the rut and kind of, that's got to be fucking. You must be like jittery as all hell, just ready to go.
I am. I also drank a lot of coffee this morning. So
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, my sort of, I'm not stressed out about it, but I'm definitely anxious. It's a big hunt, a lot of money, a lot of, time off of work, all that kind of stuff that, it's been sort of 6 months building up to this thing. And so we're thinking about where are we going to go? What are we going to do? How are we going to make it all happen? And you sort of get antsy thinking through all that stuff, waiting sort of for the big show to come. And so we're just trying to be as prepared as we can, have all those backup plans, the different areas you can go if you show up and, there's a lot of trucks at the trailhead, or, there's 2 feet of snow and you just can't hike in. Just trying to be as prepared as we can, have a lot of options, and go give it our best shot.
That's awesome.
Whereabouts are you guys going to be going?
Somewhere between Alamosa and Durango.
Okay, I gotcha.
So
you're
like
gonna
I
be-
said, our units are actually, one of the sweet things about Colorado and these over-the-counter tags is that you can get them on. So if anyone wants to go elk hunting right now, you can still get in the truck. It's not too late, and head to Colorado and buy that tag and hit that public land on those over-the-counter units.
Right.
So we really have a ton of opportunity, and our plans span across a wide area. And based on what we are hearing sort of from friends and acquaintances that we know who are going to be hunting out there, right now, we'll be talking to them on the phone, touching base with them on our way out, and figuring out exactly where we want to pinpoint which one of those, dozen plans that we've got is the one that we end up want to take because it's got the best odds.
So what does it cost to get an over-the-counter tag?
Somewhere in the neighborhood of $700, $800. I'm not sure off the top of my head exactly. But it's in that, it's pretty pricey. Coming from out east, it's pretty pricey. I used to grumble about buying an out-of-state license in Massachusetts or Connecticut for like $100. And then
different story out west.
Yeah, and then I started, took a hunt or two out west, and all of a sudden I don't even think twice about buying that Massachusetts license.
Right.
So what else have you done out west as far as hunting goes?
We hunted antelope last year in Montana, myself and then another one of my friends from Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. We were out chasing antelope in southeastern Montana, which was just a totally awesome experience, mind-blowing. We didn't end up bringing home meat, but we got onto animals every day. We saw a ton of them. They were literally everywhere. And so, yeah, it was super fun, and I can't wait to do that again too. That might be my next year hunt.
There you go.
That's awesome, man. Well, why don't we turn this key, man, and just why don't we go into the whole thing of what you do at BHA, what it is, and the whole thing as a realm.
Sure. So Backcountry Hunters and Anglers is a North American conservation organization. We're relatively new. The group was started in 2004. And it was started out in the Western U.S. In Oregon, and our headquarters now is in Missoula, Montana. We are growing quickly. From 2004, we've grown from starting then up to about 40,000 members in the U.S. and Canada today. We've got chapters in 48 states and 3 Canadian provinces. So for anyone that's listening, that's not here in Southern New England, just know that BHA is, we have people that are working literally wherever your neck of the woods is. Chances are we've got a chapter that's doing something in that area. And our sort of mission is rooted in ensuring our outdoor heritage of fishing and angling in natural settings. So, and a lot of that has to do with public lands and protecting our access to public lands. The work that we do focuses really in 3 major areas. The first one is access and opportunity. So that's making sure that hunters and anglers have places to go. There's certainly, and it's not that there's anything wrong with having, your own back 40 or your own little piece of land that you can manage on. That's awesome. And that's a super important part of our hunting heritage also. But for the majority of people, myself included, almost all of the outdoor recreation that I do, hunting and fishing, involves accessing public lands and chasing animals, chasing fish on public lands, or using those public accesses to get out on the water. So having access to that, while it's not everything for hunting and fishing, it's a critical part for me. If I didn't have it, then I wouldn't be able to do it. And I feel like that's something that a ton of people have in common. Second bucket is public land and water. And that's sort of making sure that the outdoor opportunities that we have on public lands and on public waters are clean, that they're healthy, that we have good game populations. When we use that access, that we have something worth accessing. So we're doing things like habitat projects. Out west, it's a lot of fence removals. We're doing this month, September, is we celebrate as Public Lands Month. So all month long, we're doing public lands packouts and getting our members to go out and they might be out on, their deer hunt or their duck hunt or, their goose hunt or whatever. But we're getting them to take out a bag of trash or a couple bags of trash or, haul out those old tires that no one wants to look at, that people just dump carelessly on our public lands and waters. So maintaining those places and making sure that we've got clean habitat and healthy game populations and fish populations is another major part. The third part is promoting fair chase. And obviously fair chase is, it's an ethical framework, not sort of something that we're aiming to legislate. And it's a fuzzy line, right? Because what's fair chase to one person might not be fair chase to another person. But still making sure that we're conscious of, sort of the traditional ways of pursuing game and that we're staying true to those as opposed to bringing in, for example, new technology like drones and live action trail cameras are something
Right.
that we have a tough time with when it comes to, sort of the fair pursuit of game. So making sure that we're being conscious of those things and thinking of them and promoting sort of those traditional ways of pursuing fish and game. Those sort of make up the three, big picture buckets of where BHA operates. And from there, we snake off into, a bunch of little, different ways that we sort of apply that mission. And so, each of our chapters, I said we have 48 chapters in 3 Canadian provinces, or 48 states and 3 Canadian provinces. Each of those chapters has sort of a different way that they sort of apply that mission based on what the needs are in their area or what their volunteers are interested in pursuing. On top of that, we've got a couple sort of national initiatives that go a little bit outside of the chapters. One of them is a new one and it's super exciting. That's our Armed Forces Initiative. That's a community that we're building within sort of the veteran and active duty military community to help connect active duty military and veterans to the outdoors and to BHA's mission. For some, it's a quality of life thing, and they find sort of, coming from, being in that active duty role. I'm not a veteran myself, so I don't want to claim to have firsthand experience here, but I know a number of people sort of find that peace after wartime in the outdoors, being alone, hunting, chasing game, and sort of having that, it's a little bit of a different mission. But sort of making that a pursuit that, where they find their peace.
And then, I will 100% confirm that. So I am a vet and I did a couple of tours, and hunting was my way of reconnecting with the real world when I came home. So sure. You guys are 100% on with that. And so,
and that's a new initiative that we rolled out within the last 6 months. And you can find out more all about all of this stuff on backcountryhunters.org. They've got pages for each of these things. Then the other bucket, the other big program that we're running nationally is our Hunting for Sustainability program, which is in the R3 space. So recruiting, reactivating, retaining hunters and anglers, and working to address sort of what happens with the declining number of hunters that we have today. And how do we get people more interested in being outdoors in sort of the hunting and fishing space to make sure that we keep selling licenses, selling tags, selling stamps, and that funding for conservation continues to come in through those traditional avenues that have been so successful in North America historically.
Awesome.
I feel like that was a lot. I feel like I just dumped a lot of stuff out there.
No, it's great. It's good
great
information.
It's what people kind of need to know. So what exactly is your role with BHA? Like, what made you? I guess that's a double-ended question. Never mind.
Yeah, I was going to say you're taking him in circles, man.
I was going to go somewhere else with that, but anyways.
No, so I can talk a little bit about that. So my role currently, I'm a volunteer. I'm not paid for any of the work that I do for BHA, but I volunteer as the co-chair for the New England chapter, so that's sort of a coordinating role. Sort of making sure that we're on top of the administrative things that we need to do as a chapter. We have a great chapter board. I certainly can't take credit for all the stuff that we do because it's a total team effort, and we have an awesome team of volunteers here. But making sure that we're staying on point with, we've got our treasurer that's doing our budgets. We've got, policy positions that we're doing in each of the six states that the New England chapter covers. All of the on-the-ground projects, events, sort of making sure that stuff is all within New England chapter's umbrella. And that when we do need to be running stuff up to the national level, I can be sort of a conduit between the chapter and national as it's appropriate, and then just making sure that all of our leaders have the resources that they need to take our mission to the ground where they are. That's ultimately what drives BHA forward. So we're like super grassroots organization, and what makes us powerful is all of the volunteers that we have, whether they're doing the volunteer work, the habitat work and pack outs, whether they're doing the advocacy and showing up at the regulatory and the state legislative hearings, or making calls for things like the Great American Outdoors Act. The power that we have comes from those volunteers that are speaking up, our membership.
So what made you want to be part of such an organization? Like what was your
what drove him to it?
Yeah, I was I was trying to like kind of veer around that, but yeah, I guess that's
So I can tell you the specific event that sort of got BHA onto my radar, and that was I actually haven't been volunteering for BHA for all that long. The specific event was in 2017. There was a big national campaign around representative out of Utah named Jason Chaffetz. He came out with a House resolution to sell off 3.3 million acres across the West. It was called something like the Disposing of Surplus Public Lands Act or something along those lines. And BHA at that point was doing a lot of work against that because, at the end of the day, one man's, place where he can make oil is another man's honey hole where he's, spent years hunting with his father and his grandfather for mule deer. And so that campaign sort of caught my attention. And while I hadn't been out to any of those places out West, at that point in my life, I had spent some time in New Mexico working in the backpacking industry. So I had an appreciation for the land that we had out there. And here in Rhode Island, 1,000 acres is meaningful to me. So 3.3 million acres. I mean, what are we talking about? So that, and at that point I saw what BHA was doing, and it was basically, take my $35, keep doing this work, keep that public land, because one day I'm going to be out, I can't draw a tag in Utah right now, but one day I will be able to, and that might be the land that I want to go to.
Right.
And if it's 3.3 million acres this year, is it going to be that next year and the next year and the next year? So I first bought my membership to basically to work against that proposal. And once I was sort of plugged in, I started to see the local stuff that we were doing, getting plugged into the New England chapter, what we're doing here. Anyone that signs up for a membership ends up sort of getting plugged into their local chapter's network. And through that, eventually, some of the leaders at the time reached out to me. I think I was one of like 3 members in Rhode Island at the time. There were like none of us. And, it was basically like, hey, is there anyone down there that wants to put together like a local pint night or a local get together and start to, build a team in that area? And I sort of stepped up, and I guess I just haven't been saying no since then. And so here I am.
Fair enough.
So you got roped right into it pretty quickly.
Yeah, for sure. And although I think that one of the important things, and certainly it's something that works for me with this organization, but for anyone that's sort of doing the volunteer type work for one of these for an outdoors or conservation nonprofit, I think it's super important that the mission, the organization's mission aligns well with your sort of personal, your personal drive or your personal ethic or sort of what you stand for. For me, I find that what I stand for personally is very well aligned with BHA. So like volunteering is, a lot of it is stuff that I would like to be speaking up on to begin with, and I can do it in a much more powerful way when I do it as part of this organization.
So with the organization, the BHA, I know, is it a lot of like older guys that are involved in this, or younger guys, or?
So as far as the conservation space goes, BHA, I don't want to say as a fact, but my understanding is that we're one of the younger sort of demographics in terms of the sort of the hunting conservation space. We've got young people, we've got old people, we've got, men, women, we've got people on both sides of the aisle politically. It's really a melting pot of people that come in and sort of gather and celebrate public lands and see the value in them. And we're able to draw people from, from all age groups, all walks of life. And it's pretty cool. I haven't spent a lot of time in the other conservation organizations, but I have a little, I've been to sort of local game dinners and other events. One thing I can say is, especially at the larger regional BHA events, it's young people, man. Like we had a big party down in Pennsylvania last year, and it was like there were kids running around, there were, young parents, there were older guys. I mean, it was literally everybody. And it was so cool to see that energy of, young people coming into conservation and being excited about it, getting involved, and really coming from the backgrounds that aren't traditionally hunters and anglers. So I actually didn't grow up in a hunting family. I grew up in suburban New Jersey. We didn't, like, no guns in the house. Mom and dad didn't hunt. And so I was attracted to this through my appreciation of public land. And that's something that we find in a lot of people.
So going back on it, is there a lot of, because you were saying there's people on both sides of it politically, and is there a lot of people that aren't hunters or aren't, that aren't into that? That are maybe just backpackers or, that are fighting for that kind of thing? Or is it more of an organization that's really geared towards the hunters and fishermen, outdoorsmen?
So our mission is built around public lands advocacy, and our background is from the perspective of hunting and angling. I don't know if we get a ton of people in that are not hunters that don't intend to be hunters. What we do get a lot of, though, and I can talk a little bit about the mentoring program that we do here in New England, but we get a lot of people that, and really a common narrative is like, hey, I watched Meat Eater on Netflix, and I don't know the first thing about hunting, but I'm interested in getting into it. I Googled, how do I start hunting? And one way or another, I came across BHA, and here I am. What do I do next? So we certainly get that type of person that wants to get outdoors, maybe doesn't come from the traditional background. So I feel like that's a little bit of a sideways answer to the question, but
no, I love it, because I think it's great, and I think it's, it's kind of badass that people can, because a lot of people, I meet people all the time, obviously being on the fishing boat, they're like, I'll be like, hey, do you hunt or whatever, obviously, because that's the only thing I know how to talk about. So I always ask everybody if they hunt. And a lot of people will be like, no, I'm not really, but I'd really like to try it. And you're just kind of like, well, I think the best thing for you to do is listen to podcasts or this, that, and the other thing. But now learning this, it's kind of like, go check out BHA, go check out QDMA. Like, those places have mentoring programs.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I volunteer a lot for BHA, and I'm a member of a number of these other conservation organizations as well, because I support the work that a ton of them do. QDMA is definitely one that also stands out with their Field to Fork program and getting new hunters into the woods. That's super. Yeah, I mean, it's a super good program, and I know that our team in New York, the BHA team in New York, worked with QDMA to bring that event to New York State last year. I would love to see something like that in New England at some point too. So hopefully it's coming around the corner.
It sure as hell is. Obviously here in Connecticut, it's definitely going to end up happening. I know that for a fact, because I mean, the people that are behind it there and the team that's been here, that's kind of being built and come to fruition, because of Sean Polk, a lot of them are mentors. And I think a lot of them that we're definitely going to have a huge mentor program here.
Sweet. Yeah, I love it. I mean, the more hunters and anglers we get, the more, the more voices in that space, the better. I mean, we're a cooperative group. We work side by side with so many of these other groups, and we're excited to see everybody growing.
So kind of what's some of the new things coming down the pipe for BHA? Like what are some of the things that they've done in the past, and what are some of the things that are coming down in the future?
So the big one this year was the Great American Outdoors Act and the passage of that just a couple months ago. That was, it's something that we worked super hard on, and it came sort of into headlines this year, but really it's something that I know legislators and I know our staff at BHA have been working to frame that, the permanent reauthorization that happened last year and then the permanent funding that happened this year. I mean, for a lot of them, that was the conservation win literally of a lifetime. and I think that's awesome. At the same time, I think that it's the conservation win of a lifetime if we let it be, right? Like there's no reason why we can't have wins, with the voices that we have, with the number of people that came together behind that, why we can't have another win like that, next year or in 5 years or in 10 years. So that would be sort of the counterpoint to conservation win of a lifetime. But it's worth talking through the Great American Outdoors Act a little bit, because there was a lot there, and there's a lot of good stuff that's happening with it.
Right.
Yeah,
now,
definitely. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and one thing with the Great American Outdoors Act is people tend to hear, oh, this is new legislation, and they see big money going to big things. This is developed to work locally. So can you walk us through some of that?
Sure. Well, so I guess starting at the foundation. So the Land and Water Conservation Fund has been, it's not an old program, but it's been around since 1967, I think was the year that it was first signed into law. And the structure there basically is that when the federal government issues mineral leases or extraction leases to oil companies, to mineral companies, I think for the LWCF, it's primarily offshore. A portion of that money is coming into this fund. And out of that fund, it goes to towns, to counties, to states, to do on the ground, it's coming from offshore, but they're doing onshore, on the ground conservation work, land access work that's benefiting the American people, because those leases, those are American public resources too. And so bringing them back and improving the things that we use for recreation was sort of the intention of LWCF. That sort of went through a bunch of bumps in the road where, it was needing to be refunded and reauthorized and had to go sort of through the appropriations process every year. And as a result, from 1967 up until now, it had only been fully funded, I think one time, maybe two times. And that full funding level is $900 million for the year. More typically, it was like less than half of that. So the American people weren't getting their piece of the pie when it came to that public trust money coming in and seeing it applied to the land access that they had in their, in their towns and their counties and their areas. So last year, with the passage of the John Dingell Conservation Act, they permanently reauthorized the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which means that they weren't going to need to go back and sort of reapprove it being part of the legislative process every number of years. This year, with the Great American Outdoors Act, they added on to that by, now it was permanently reauthorized, but they were going to need to appropriate money every year. The Great American Outdoors Act came in and said, we're not going to appropriate, we're going to fund it to the max, $900 million every year, and that money is going to go into the fund for the states and the towns and the counties to apply for grants to use that money to improve their outdoor access. On top of that, another big piece of the Great American Outdoors Act is the National Parks and Public Land Legacy Fund, which is a 5-year project that allocates $1.9 billion primarily to the improvement of the national parks, but also to a number of the other federal agencies like the Fish and Wildlife Service and the Forest Service to do infrastructure type improvements. And there's different hoops and requirements for how that gets done, what it can be used for and what it can't. But generally what it amounts to is money to improve what we have, and then money to also expand sort of the public land estate that the American people is able to use.
Right. Oh, and that makes a really big part. So we'll say from a Park Service perspective, when you go to a park that has cabins you can rent to camp in, and you walk in and you feel like you're in the 60s and you're worried if the rain's going to come through the roof, and you kind of wonder, this is government facility, why is it crap? Well, that's what this money is meant for, is to fix that, make it livable, hold them accountable, and do it correctly. Oh, you got a nice visitor there.
Yeah.
Is that your Brit?
Yeah, I have two. This is Jackson. He's the younger of my two.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
Do you upland hunt with him?
I don't. Jackson is far more interested in. You could take him out to a field full of pheasants and he'd find you a tennis ball.
That's funny.
Yeah, both of them they're rescue dogs. So neither of them was, they weren't bred to hunt necessarily, and they're family pets first.
What made you
Nice.
go with the Britneys?
They're just good dogs, man. They're the right size. They got the right energy level. I run and hike a lot, so so they put on a lot of miles with me. They're the right temperament. Oh gosh, they
She
sound.
disagreed.
Yeah, they're just. Oh, you're gonna get both of them here. This is my other one. This is Presley.
They want their moment in the spotlight.
That's all right. I don't blame them.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
a
they're
Britney
good
fan.
dogs. I had a chance to. All right, Jackson, that's enough, buddy. I had a chance to meet one of the local volunteers for the rescue I adopted him from, he actually was a big upland hunter here, and he's actually the one that took me on my first hunt. So his dogs were great. They were the nicest dogs in the world, and I basically said, I want some of those. Get me some.
That's awesome, man.
Nice.
I'm a huge Britney fan. I've had him since I was a kid. That was the first dog I ever had. I still have one to this day. But I mean, mine, I don't know what happens. I get the craziest ones known to man. They're out of this world. They always say about the Britneys is that they're great field dogs, and then they come inside and they're like a light switch. They turn into a house dog. Yeah, right. Mine will rip the house apart. All over the place.
It depends, right? So if I give so Jackson's the high energy one. Presley is like, I adopted him when I lived in an apartment in Providence, and he's like the calmest dog ever. But Jackson, like if you run like 5 or 10 miles with him, he will just like lay down and go to sleep. He's content to lay there all day. He's got no problem with it. And if you don't exercise him, it's a little bit of a handful.
Yep. That's what I have. I mean, that's pretty much the same thing. I mean, her name's Gemma, and she's just off the wall. But I mean, if you run her, because I've trained her for birds and stuff, and I mean, obviously I don't do a lot of it now, but when you run her, she's fine. And now as she's getting older, she's fine. When she was 2 and 3, forget it. She'd rip the house apart. She literally runs from window to window to window looking for birds or squirrels or whatever. I mean, she has that drive, but they're great dogs, man. They're absolutely some of the best dogs.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to train her how to shed hunt now, but
I've seen that, man. How's that going?
so I have the lab, so it's great. It's friggin' awesome. And then but with training the Brittany, her mind is somewhere else, dude. She doesn't care about the sheds at all. She just wants to lay there and chase tennis balls and butterflies, and she likes high speed stuff, not finding antlers. So.
If it doesn't run, it's not fun.
No, exactly not. So, but it's cool, man. It's cool having, having dogs that hunt, and like the whole circle of it is just the coolest thing in the world.
For sure. There's something about a good working dog and hunting over a really well-trained dog that's a level above a lot of different things. I mean, it's special to watch. And there's a lot of really good dogs duck hunting too.
I don't know about a well-trained dog, so I couldn't tell you.
Ruby's gonna come around, dude. I'm telling you.
Yeah. They always do. It just takes, it's such a, as you know, man, and it's such an aggravating thing when you're working with dogs. I mean, it's just, like you have like this dream or this envision of this dog and how it's gonna do X, Y, and Z, but to get there, I mean, it's like dragging your nails across a chalkboard, bro. And it is an uphill battle every single day to make them do what you want them to do.
It takes a certain level of like patience, right? Because we're a lot smarter than the dogs. You can sort of think about what are the motivations that I'm giving it, and what am I making this seem like or that seem like? But man, sticking to that patience, yeah, I get frustrated. I'm just like, we got to take a break.
Yeah.
This is no longer productive.
Devoting 15 minutes a day every single day is actually a lot. Like you don't realize how much it is. It's so tough, but in the long run, it's totally worth it. My first Brittany was one of the best dogs ever. She was 15 hand commands, didn't have to say a word to her, but that was just devoted of every single day working with that dog.
Every day hammered in consistency.
Oh, and now they have the second one. I thought that she was just falling in place. You have like all these divisions.
Why won't the second one be?
No, it's like having a second child, bro. You just let it do whatever it wants, and then it comes out like whatever.
Wild one.
Yeah, exactly. So, But that's awesome, man. So why don't we get back to the Great American Outdoors hat?
Let's
Yeah,
get back off the
People are
shoulder
probably
here.
like, yeah.
Get back between the lines.
So what is it actually done for us on the local level as far as, you know, some of the positives that it's done as far as like, you know, the hunters and anglers?
So I can speak mostly on the projects here in Rhode Island. When the act was going through, BHA was doing a huge push for our members to be reaching out to our local legislators, you know, our representatives in Congress, our representatives and senators. So I did a lot of background work on sort of the projects in Rhode Island. Since it came in 1967, there's been almost 400 projects on the ground here in Rhode Island. That's $40 million worth of money going towards land acquisitions, towards property developments, and it covers everything from state beaches. So if you're on like any state beach in Rhode Island, chances are that that property has benefited, or some of them even acquired by money that came down through the land water, sorry.
LWCF.
There's a number of wildlife management area expansions here in Rhode Island. So the hunters that are out on those pieces of property, some of that land came through LWCF. And then most of our state parks have also benefited from it. So some of my favorite places, like from a fishing perspective, like the breachways, those are all LWCF. Beavertail is an LWCF site. East Beach State Park is another huge, I mean, that's a great place. That's LWCF. And then some of the local state parks here that are open to hunting too.
Was Ninnegrit in that also?
I don't, you know, actually, I think that the park, you know, the park section of Ninnegrit, not the wildlife refuge, but like the developed park there, I think that may have been. One thing that's cool to do, and I'm sure that wherever you guys are going for state parks, you know, to the listeners, if you just slow down a little bit when you're going into that state park and take a close look at some of the signs on the way in. I know here in Rhode Island, on all of the state park signs, you can look at it and there's a little LWCF sticker on there. And that's how you know that LWCF benefited that piece of property.
Nice.
So it's like a fun scavenger hunt, right? Like if you find that little LWCF sticker, you're like, I got this one.
Way to take me to school today, Mike. I really appreciate it, buddy. Because
well, I don't know if all the states do it, but I know that Rhode Island does too. Every time I'm at a state park, I'm looking for that little sticker.
I mean, as a whole, though, you know what I'm saying? As long as you're saying with like the state parks and so on and so with the, I mean, obviously the areas around me and I mean, Steven too. I mean, I bet you a lot of them have to do with that. And, you know, we wouldn't even think of that. You know, like you think of the Great American Outdoor Act and you're like, oh, it's all these new things coming down the pipe. But in all reality, these things have already been here. They've been down the pipe. And these are just things that are ensuring that they get paid for every single year. Yeah. And obviously they're adding more things, but.
So, and there's a bunch of great resources out there. You know, you can go on, there's databases online of all the LWCF projects, like literally state by state, property by property. And you can look up, you know, if you know that you're in like this state and this county, you can go in and find, you know, the dozen or 50 or 100, I mean, it's different all over the country, but you can find each of those projects in these databases. And know what, you know, how has that actually benefited me? You know, how has that program benefited me directly? The LWCF has, it's had projects in like every county in the US. So, you know, some counties are quite big and you might not have one like in your town, but it's, you know, it's spread all over. It's not just going to cities. It's not just going to the Northeast or the Midwest. It covers everything.
That's
right.
Insane.
So one other thing I kind of wanted to touch on is landlocked public land. And I know you guys have done quite a bit around some of that. Can you walk us through some of the efforts you guys have thrown into that?
Yeah, so that's a new thing to me, actually. So having not spent a ton of time out in the West, specifically hunting out West, I would read BHA's magazine, Backcountry Journal, and I would read things about the projects to, you know, do things like swapping land parcels or doing work with legislation related to checkerboarding and corner hopping. And I didn't, like, it's tough to grasp coming from the Northeast because it's not really a thing here. So the best way to describe what the problem is if you hop on like an Onyx Maps or, one of the sort of public land parcel services, a lot of the states provide them out west. You'll see these enormous areas that literally it's literally a checkerboard of public land. And it has to do with back when the railroads were coming through, they were allocating, a certain amount of area, a square mile per 40 square miles or something like that to the states, either to the state trust system or to the federal systems. And so that's resulted in this sort of checkerboard where you'll have, one public parcel that's basically surrounded by private land that somebody else owns. And so if I'm a hunter from the Northeast that wants to go out there and hunt, but I can't get permission to go through that piece of private land, I'm a public landowner of that piece of property, but I can't actually get to it. And so that goes back to that original piece of that mission, the access and opportunity piece, where we're trying to figure out how to, unlock that either through purchasing easements to have roads that are open that get you into those places. I'm not an expert on it, but there's a number of mechanisms. Those easements, there's things that they can do where they'll swap a parcel here and there so that you get more contiguous land. But just trying to figure out how those places that are public but inaccessible can be made open to you and I.
Right. Yeah, I've got a brother out in Wyoming, and we've been talking, of course, being out here on the East Coast and diehard whitetail hunters. I asked him in Wyoming about the whitetail, and he goes, "Oh yeah, they're everywhere. No one really cares about them. They want the mule deer, they want the elk." He goes, "And the places that most of them are private ranches that surround the public, and you can't get into the public to hunt them." So it's something, it consistently comes up. So
yeah, well, and I know there's a lot of, I've certainly heard of creative things that people will do to get into those places. Some states have different laws with stream access, and you can, for example, take streams as waterways through private land to get into them. I've heard of people chartering helicopters to fly into these places that you can't drive to. I'm not sure if, that state by state, the regulations on all that are probably different. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy that we own these places, but we can't get to them. And it's good to see the chapters out there that are basically exploring the options to bring that stuff back to being accessible.
We have some of those areas here in Connecticut that, like, they'll have, for example, they'll have one that's along a river, and then there'll be public access. There'll be bigger parcels through the river, at the back of the river or whatever. So we will literally go in and we'll go down the stream until it opens up and then get off in the stream and then start hunting, because obviously there's private on either side. But they allow along the river a couple of feet each way is actually part of the public land. So we'll literally hike
here
down.
Where we are, it's 10 feet off the bank from the edge of the water.
Wow, I wish it was like that here, because I wouldn't have to walk down the center of the river.
Well, the problem is you go down the river and then the bank's like that, so your 10 feet only gets you to here.
Yep. So we kayak into a lot of places, or there's a couple of places that we duck hunt that literally you can't, because the area around it is like a public walking trail. So we can go into it, but we can't carry guns down it, because then it's technically a state park and we're not allowed to have firearms in a state park. So it's a really great area, and it sucks because some of those areas are some of the better hunting areas.
See, all I got to do is look for and see if there's a church nearby.
Yeah. Because in Virginia, so the inside joke to that is, you may or may not know, but in Virginia, you can shoot a firearm wherever you want in Virginia. It doesn't really matter.
As long as it's not on Sunday within 100 yards of a church.
It's the only rule. How does that make any sense?
Oh, that's wild.
Same way that not letting hunting on Sundays makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're slowly weeding those states out.
You guys can Rhode Island can hunt on Sundays.
Yeah, we can.
We cannot. Connecticut cannot.
I know that's I don't want to say that VHA is going to solve that problem. It certainly is something that's on our radar and that we're working on. It fits squarely within the access and opportunity. I mean, traditionally we think about access as can I walk from point A to point B? But access is every bit as pertinent to, can I access it on 7 days a week?
Right.
So, it's something, it's conversation that we're participating in and doing what we can. I know, we had a big win in Pennsylvania where they opened up a couple days this week or not this week, this year for Sunday
Yep.
hunting.
We got 3. They didn't give us any days during bow season. That's what killed me.
Well, I mean, the hope is that's that sort of is the trial run for, it's a step in the right direction towards where you want to get, which is
exactly
that, Sundays are just like every other day of the week.
Yeah, if you can prove that, hey, they can go in on Sunday just like they do Saturday, and it's not going to disturb anything and the world will keep turning, then I think they'll end up going by way of losing the old blue law.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's important when, I guess for all hunters, when we're in the field to be, to sort of be friendly, to be courteous to people, to be nice, not to be shooting in their direction. That all goes without saying. But I think a big part of it is being present and there not being issues.
Right.
If you're out on Sundays for 3 days out of the year, and those days are no worse than the other days, I mean, that sort of is a case in point for, like, holy smokes, it didn't like totally disrupt my ability to walk my dog. I can actually still do that safely, while other people are sharing the land that I'm on.
Right. Ultimately, it comes down to people, 1, doing it legally, 2, doing it ethically, and 3, using common sense.
Right.
So that's where anyone who wants it is going to have to prove it, and they've got to follow the rules, regulations, and laws given in order to earn that time.
So here in Connecticut, we have the Sunday hunting on private land only on Sundays. And that was kind of that stepping stone thing where we can prove to them that, obviously the bow hunters, we give it to the bow hunters first, right? Because they're in the woods, they're silent, you don't even know that they're there, and they really don't bother anybody, right? Because the bow hunters. So a lot of the rifle hunters or shotgun hunters here got a little upset. Why are we giving it to the bow hunters? It's like, allow the bow hunters to go in there, be silent, be unheard, be unseen, and then go and put the gun hunters in there once we can prove that we can hunt there and not bother anybody else. So hopefully that kind of moves forward here. And then the Sunday hunting, I don't get it because Rhode Island has Sunday hunting, Massachusetts has Sunday hunting, but Connecticut doesn't have Sunday hunting.
No, Massachusetts doesn't.
Oh, I'm sorry, New York. It must be New York then.
Yeah, I think New York does. To be honest, I should know, but I'm not sure about northern New England. I think that New Hampshire and Vermont do allow it, and
it's live free or die, bro. They do whatever they want.
We don't even have seasons up here. It's a free for all.
They're the southern thinking people of the north.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh gosh, I don't know. It might not be that way forever with everyone leaving Boston.
Well, that's the same with Connecticut with the New Yorkers. So, and I think it's kind of funny that you kind of bring that up. And I think that with everything going on here, obviously across the country, is that people are starting to kind of realize that how important hunting actually is. I had heard, I don't know the true facts of this or anything, but I've heard in the past that our conservation numbers of licenses are the greatest that they've ever been in a long time, as far as people buying fishing licenses, or I don't know about the hunting licenses, but people buying outdoor licenses, the sales have absolutely maximized.
Yeah, I know in Virginia through turkey season and into fishing season, we had a record turkey harvest year because, 1, people aren't working, so they're out there more and more people jumped in to experience it. Plus with the food scares and everything, let's go out and get this meat that's available to us and things of that nature. Plus, well, I'm stuck at home with my thumb in my ass. I want to go do something. Let's go fishing. So it's ultimately, as bad as this has all been, it's done good on that aspect, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've sort of seen similar headlines, definitely about fishing licenses. I don't know about hunting. I guess speaking practically, I would expect that hunting might lag a little bit because you have to, if you want to get a hunting license, you have to get into that hunter ed class, and that hasn't been the easiest thing to do in the last 6 months either. which is something that I'd love to see. I'd love to see us do better, make that a little bit more accessible and less of a hurdle to, to getting into hunting. But I mean, within sort of my personal group, my friend group, I've got people that are asking me about, how do I get into hunt? Especially when like you were thinking about like, man, it's like I go to the grocery store and there's no meat on the shelf. Like, what if that's around for like a month or 2 months? What the heck am I going to do then?
Well, yeah.
So I think that food connection is something that's been building in the hunting space and, in that sort of R3 world for a little bit of time. Getting away from, like the, bang 'em up sort of, hunting films, that stuff might not be as appealing, but when you start to show people that you can get food this way and this is healthy, it's healthy meat, healthy animals. I think that's a message that's been appealing, and it's been compounded by the fact that, at times food has been a little bit hard to come by.
Right.
And I think also a lot of people have kind of gone to that whole organic farm fresh kind of thing too, before all this whole COVID thing. And I think that a lot of people have been down that realm for a little bit, and then the whole COVID thing and everyone not working, and then the food scares have kind of kicked that really into gear for everybody. The reality of this is how this works. And a lot of people I know, like here in Connecticut, a lot of people have been looking to get hunting courses, been looking to get firearm courses, looking to get pistol permits. And Connecticut has now finally gone and has an online bow hunting safety course because of this. So I think it's a step in the right direction, man. And I think it's one of those things that's a double-edged sword here, because I'd love to see the conservation numbers through the roof, because then that's more voices to be heard when it comes to voting. But in all honesty, I really don't want that many hunters, because then there's more people on the public land. So the good thing is that the Great American Outdoors Act have opened up more of those opportunities in more places, because it's kind of a double-edged sword. We've all worked so hard to get so many more people involved in the outdoors, but then do we really want them in the outdoors?
Ultimately, yes. Do I want them where I'm hunting?
No.
Yeah. I'd be happy to see a new hunter in there, but I would tell them, oh no, the buck is about 700 yards that way.
It's funny. I feel like so speaking locally, I feel like I would kill a lot more deer if I didn't keep giving spots away to new hunters that, that come into our mentoring program.
Exactly.
Or they're interested in it. One of the things that's been really cool about hunting out west, though, is, I sort of I started hunting in Rhode Island, and this has been, sort of where I built my foundation. And it's exactly what you described. It's like, like if I find a spot, I being sort of like Joe Hunter from Rhode Island, people don't really talk about it. It's, it's kind of like, I don't want you there. I don't want anyone to know about it. I want to be as quiet about it as I can. And sometimes, just like you said, that ends up being like I don't want more hunters to be here. In talking to folks about hunting out west, like in Colorado, I think I've talked to like 12 people where I just put it out there that like, hey, I'm looking to hunt in Southern Colorado. Anyone like know anything about it?
They'll tell you everything.
And people are like, yeah, I'd love to. Like, maybe they just want to talk elk. Maybe it's, it's the kind of thing where they hunt that area a couple of years, every couple of years. And, if I kill a bull there, it doesn't really change their chances exactly. But it's been cool seeing how helpful people have been in talking about that kind of stuff out there. And, and the genuine willingness to get more hunters out and be willing to, sort of give up some of their hard-earned information to help me get along.
Yeah, the dynamic out west. So I was born and raised in Arizona, and I hunted Arizona, southern Utah, New Mexico, and southern Colorado quite a bit. And out there were days we would take very well-known forest roads. Everyone knows it. You go out there, you didn't see a soul for 5-6 days, and you're covering miles sitting on peaks looking, because everything's public. It's wide open, and you're talking hundreds of thousands of acres in these units. You're not talking, I got 1,000 acres here and 500 acres there. So you can cram everyone out there into that unit and not see a soul. The other difference is most of the tags out there are very limited. So if you don't draw, you're not hunting. And when you do draw, it may be you and 30 other people on 1 million acres. So when someone draws a tag, yeah, that's kind of what you're going to is they may hunt it 3 or 4 years. That's because they only get drawn every 3 or 4 years. They know a general area, and they know that the buck they saw 3 years ago isn't still there. It's either dead, gone, or it's hiding because it's a giant. So that's kind of the dynamic. People out west will tell you, go to this general area, watch, X knoll or X mountaintop or this ridge, and watch the south side or whatever. And that's just kind of how it is, because if you don't get it when you have a tag, you're probably not going to get back in there and get it in the next few years unless you're real lucky with the draw.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, especially in some of those units in Colorado, I mean, there's, some of the ones that we're looking at, they're over-the-counter units, but you sort of look at the neighborhood and what the other units that are adjacent to it are. And, there's units where guys are waiting 15 years or 20 years or whatever to get into. And I'm not that patient,
Right. Yeah, I had a brother, my oldest brother, put in Arizona for an archery bull elk tag for 24 years straight before he got drawn.
Did he get the bull? No
bull. He got real picky, and so where we are, it's what Arizona considers a trophy unit.
Yeah.
So a 380 bull or better, or bust, and he had shots at 340s, 350s every day. But knowing what we know about that unit, he took it a little too far, and I bust his chops about it all day long.
How
and
he
knows, but Trev's seen some of the pictures of some of the elk we have out there, and a 400-inch bull is not uncommon if you put in the work. I mean, it's like out here seeing a 200-incher every 4 days.
Right.
There's 300-inch muleys just running around everywhere.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Growing up on the ranch, we'd be riding the horse out there on the Arizona Strip and, just pushing cattle. And you'd see someone stop, get off the horse and stand up, and they'd have 180 inches of mule deer bone just from a shed.
Oh, man.
Stuff everywhere.
That's just crazy.
Yeah.
But drawing those units, it's
impossible.
You may put in your whole life and never get that tag.
We start in January.
Yep. Yep. That's the plan. Arizona hunt next year.
Yep.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to take him out, show him my stomping grounds, and take the horses up, do some,
you're gonna love
some
it,
high
man.
country.
I can't wait. I'm like, it's one of those things. I mean, it's now or never, man. And everybody's kind of told me, and it's something that I kind of took kind of like literal, is that, do it now. Don't do it when you're old, when you can't do it.
Yeah. You're
now
not hiking 14,000 feet when you're 60 years old and out of shape and broken.
Now's the time, man. And you never know. And I think that, I hate to go back on it, but the whole COVID thing is kind of like put the realization into a lot of people where that they need do it now. Fucking do it now, because you never know what tomorrow's going to bring, obviously, right? So we could be in quarantine for another 30 days. So we just need to do what we need to do. And that's so I've dreamt about it. I've been just drooling about it every single day. I look at pictures every single day of these guys killing them out there. And it's just, dude, they're shooting 300-inch fucking mule deer. They're giants, bro.
Dude, just saying, it's not too late to get in the truck and head to Colorado this year.
No. I have too many hunts planned here.
Yeah, we've already burned up this year.
I'm trying to, I just added a week in northern Maine to go shed hunting in the middle of the rut. I don't know what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, but I just added to do so. Whatever. It is
Why
what
not?
it is. So in the middle of rut, I am leaving to go shed hunting for a week. And
That was like a month. You're going to miss Ohio.
yeah. What's that?
You're going to be hunting up there too, or just shed hunting?
No, I'm literally going just to shed hunt for a week.
Why?
Why not? Why wouldn't you, right?
Do it now, right?
But now, no better time than now. So
he took it literal.
here's one of the mule deers that they shot this week.
Yeah,
Holy
A3.
smokes. Is that still in velvet?
Yep.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yep.
Oh wow.
Yeah, right now the muleys are still in velvet. They'll be coming out, I'm going to say in the next 2 weeks, you'll see it happening. But they're hammering down on some absolute giants. Coos deer.
That's a coos.
Yep. Yeah,
I mean,
mule deer is on my list. That next year, very likely is going to be like a mule deer antelope sort of combo deal.
that's a
Um,
muley.
That's a freaking spider.
that's a monster.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
a strip
just
buck. We've talked about them on here before. Anyone listening, Trev's showing pictures from a good friend of ours at A3 and some of the
oh, I
pictures of the
can't.
bucks they've put up.
Well, then I'm trying to.
And he just showed a picture of one of the strip bucks that came off recently. So get on there and check it out.
That's it right there.
There you go.
Oh
That's a
my
better view.
gosh.
Yep.
And then you'll understand why I say strip bucks are the biggest mule deer in the world.
It's insane, and I can't wait to put in for it, and just here's an elk. That's an elk on the strip.
Oh wow.
Yep.
So we talk about it all the time, and Steven's been kind of just like really pushing it on me on how I need.
Oh, I'm really pushing
go,
that.
And this one was shot September 11th on the strip.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't get to Arizona, man, get somewhere. I mean, it's like you said, it's a matter of you just gotta do it one way or the other. You know,
Oh, yeah.
Eventually you'll get that Arizona tag, and you don't want that to be your first time chasing them. You want to have a little bit of experience under your belt too.
No, full send,
no.
bro. Full
He's
send.
he's lucky. We get the Arizona tag. We got plenty of experience to go behind us.
Yeah, there you go.
Full send. So how long have you been hunting?
I started hunting the year after I graduated from college, so about 10 years now.
Wow.
Okay.
And you've already done a couple of Western hunts and
Yep.
talk about
So
full
I
throttle.
started when I got out of college. I was sort of like, like I came into, I had a job, had a little bit of disposable income, had a lot of time on my hands, and I had spent some time sort of in the backpacking space. So outdoor, I had a lot of appreciation for the outdoors. During that time, I knew a bunch of people that shot archery, knew a bunch of people that hunted. It was always interesting to me. And basically, I went down to the gun store, bought myself a Remington 870, and parked myself on a tree until a deer showed up.
Man.
I'd love to say that there was more to it than that, but that's about what it amounted to. Back at that time, we didn't have really the podcast, we didn't have the videos, all the resources that are out there today. Not saying that it's easier or harder today. I mean, I guess probably pretty safe to say that it's easier today than it was 10 years ago. But for the person that looks into where can I get resources from,
Right.
but man, I don't think it might have been my second or third year that I ended up shooting my first buck, which, was a little like a year and a half, 2.5-year-old little 8-point. Still got it hanging in the guest bedroom here.
Yep.
But from that moment onward, man, I was just fully hooked. I mean,
That's awesome.
fully in.
So I guess that goes along with it. And the question is, what drives you outdoors?
Let's see. The way that I sort of look at my time in the outdoors, the thing that gets me about hunting specifically is sort of being a participant in the ecosystem as opposed to an onlooker. I spent my fair share of time in the outdoors, and I don't mean to diminish anybody that's not out there hunting, because I think you can have meaningful experiences outdoors in a number of ways. The way I looked at it after, specifically after I, killed that first deer, for example, though, was now, I'm looking at acorns differently. I'm looking at what are the birds doing differently, or where's the browse happening? When are the leaves falling off? Like, oh, there's a shed antler, like the things that you see. And then to occasionally have the opportunity to actually bring, meat home and provide for yourself, or have something to share with your friends. I certainly can't say that food is a part of it, because I pass on my fair share of smaller deer, looking for bigger ones. But food, providing is a part of it, being self-sufficient. But really that participation aspect is probably the thing that sticks out the most to me, that gets me outside. Also fishing is really fun, but that's, I let a lot of fish go.
Yep, I hear that. Well, Mike, before we cut this off, can you one more time tell everybody where they can find you, how they can get a hold of you, and how they can get involved.
Sure thing. So I'm on Instagram and Facebook, just under my name. My Instagram is woods.michael.c. For the New England chapter of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, we're on Instagram at New England BHA, and then we have a group on Facebook that sort of is a community area. The larger Backcountry Hunters and Anglers organization is just at Backcountry Hunters on Instagram, and I think they're probably Backcountry Hunters on Facebook. Our website is backcountryhunters.org, and then a couple of those other things like that Hunting for Sustainability and that Armed Forces Initiative. We have a bunch of pages for those types of things too, if those stick out as interesting to folks that are listening. But the Backcountry Hunters account is the sort of the overarching one. You'll find a lot of the different stuff that we do through there.
Awesome. Greatly appreciate it. Well, we don't want to take up too much of your time. We know you got some hard times coming and some other things you got to take care of tonight, but we want to thank you again for joining us. It's been a great time, and I think the information's been more than incredible. Very eye-opening for hopefully a lot of listeners. I know I got a lot out of it, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Well, I had a blast too, man. Really had fun talking with you guys.
Well, let's not make this the last time. We'll keep in touch, and
For sure.
anything we can do for you, just let us know.
Sounds good. See you later, guys.
All right. Well, for everyone out there listening, thank you guys for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.